The cargo freighter Golden Eagle drifted steadily through space, closing in on the immense trade station. Captain Jake Morrison gazed out the front viewport as the station loomed ever larger, a sprawling metallic metropolis suspended in the void, aglow with blinking lights and teeming ships moving like swarming insects. "First time here, Captain?" asked Lisa Chung from the pilot's seat. Though young, she expertly navigated the crowded space surrounding the station. Nexus 7 is supposed to be one of the biggest trade hubs in this entire sector. Jake gave a slight nod, glancing at the display filled with alien vessels, some long and sleek like metal serpents, others spherical, and a few with forms beyond his comprehension. Even after 5 years of cargo runs, the diversity of alien life still amazed him. "Pete, how are we looking back there?" Jake called over the come to the engine room. "All good, Captain," came the response from Engineer Pete Rodriguez. "The new power cells are running smooth, no issues docking." At the medical station, Amy Brooks looked up from her inventory checks. "Hopefully they've got the medicine we need. That fever on Kepler-19 still hasn't let up." Guided by traffic control, the Golden Eagle maneuvered into a docking bay. The station was so massive that their ship appeared tiny beside some of the alien craft. Jake had seen pictures of these vessels before, but seeing them up close left him feeling small. Once docked, the 4 crew members stepped into the metal passageway, linking their ship to the station. The air had a metallic Temps recycled atmosphere, tailored for dozens of species. The main trading zone was enormous, its ceiling vanishing into shadows. Beings of countless forms moved about, their languages a mix of melody, growls, and clicks. Some walked upright, others on multiple legs, and a few floated entirely. "Look at that," Lisa whispered, gesturing to a tree-like being with glowing blue leaves and silver bark. "Don't stare," Jake murmured back. "Let's make a good impression." At the supply office, they spent 2 hours arranging to purchase medicine and food for the next delivery. The alien clerk spoke fluent English, though it sounded like speech through water. After business was done, Jake gave his team some time to explore. "Be polite. Stay out of trouble," he advised. Pete headed off to check engine parts, while Lisa and Amy visited the cultural exchange halls. Jake intended to quietly review their route. An hour later, Jake's name echoed through the station. "Comes, Captain Morrison. Report to Security Level 5 immediately." His stomach dropped. Level 5 was where rule breakers were taken. He rushed through corridors, dodging unfamiliar aliens. At Level 5, he found Pete on a bench, bruised and bloodied. Amy was beside him, checking his injuries. Lisa stood nearby, pale and shaken. "What happened?" Jake asked. "Not totally sure," Pete muttered, touching his cheek. "I was looking at power converters when some big lizard-looking guy accused me of touching his stuff. I tried to explain, I was just browsing, but he hit me." Jake's attention shifted. Security guards, nearly 24, were encircling not his crew, but a large reptilian creature. The alien sat on the floor, head in his clawed hands, apparently crying. "Please," the reptile sobbed in broken English. "Accident, did not know. Please, not the tribunal." More guards arrived, insectoid beings, crystalline figures, tree-like creatures. Jake had never seen such unity among alien forces. A tall, silver-skinned being with 4 arms stepped forward in a decorated uniform. "Captain Morrison," the alien said fluently, "I am Commander Zelix. I deeply regret this incident. A full investigation is underway. This is a serious breach of galactic law." "Breach?" Jake asked, frowning. "It was just a fight." Zelix gave him a strange look. "Captain, are you unaware of the laws protecting human safety?" "What? Laws?" Jake replied, confused. The commander exchanged silent glances with the other officers. Then, in a careful tone, said, "It may be best if the Galactic Council explains this directly." This is far beyond a mere scuffle. Jake looked at Pete. His wounds were minor, but the reaction of the station made the incident feel far more serious. I don't understand, Jake said. Why mention a tribunal? Why so many guards? The reptilian figure looked up, pleading, Human, please, forgive. Not knowing. Old Compact family will be shamed. Please, show mercy. Old Compact. Jake turned to Commander Zelix. What's he talking about? Zelix's skin dimmed. Captain, it appears there is much you don't know about your species standing in this galaxy. Jake felt a chill. The watching aliens weren't just curious, they looked afraid. Or reverent. He wasn't sure which unsettled him more. Commander, Jake said carefully, I need answers. But Zelix simply shook his head. This is above me, Captain. A council ship is en route. Please accept our apologies. Justice will be served. Jake surveyed the faces around him, dozens of alien eyes fixed on him and his crew. His simple cargo run had turned into something far bigger. Whatever the old compact was, it had changed everything. The ship that arrived for them was unlike any vessel they'd seen, sleek, white, no visible weapons or engines, yet faster than the Golden Eagle. Its pilot, a crystalline being, spoke in harmonized tones that translated seamlessly. We will reach the capital world in 6 hours, it said. Please, make yourselves at ease. The council is eager to meet you. Jake sat in the ship's passenger lounge beside Lisa, Pete, and Amy. Pete's face was still bruised, but Amy had treated the worst of it. No one said much during the flight. Each of them was silently reflecting on what had happened at the station, and what it all might mean. After a long pause, Lisa finally asked, Captain, do you think we're in trouble? Jake replied honestly, I don't know. But they looked more afraid of that lizard guy than they did of us. The capital planet, Terminus, was colossal. As their vessel approached, Jake saw entire continents covered in cityscapes. Towers of steel and glass pierced the clouds, and starships from countless worlds glided across the skies like an endless stream. Their crystal pilot maneuvered them toward a landing pad near the heart of the main city. The platform was so massive it could hold 1,000 ships, yet theirs was the only one present. The council has granted you privacy, the pilot explained. No other matters will proceed during your stay. A delegation waited for them. Jake recognized Commander Zelix from the trade station, but the rest were unfamiliar. Among them hovered a luminous, jellyfish-like being, a towering creature of stone, and several others defying description. They were led down halls carved from what looked like seamless stone. Murals along the walls depicted various species and planets, a visual chronicle of galactic history. Jake noticed that humans appeared only rarely, often shown either aiding others or standing apart from large groups. The council chamber itself was immense, the ceiling vanishing into shadows above. Circular rows of seats surrounded a central platform, each occupied by a representative of a different species. Jake estimated there were at least 300 delegations present. As the humans entered the center, total silence filled the space. Hundreds of alien eyes tracked their every movement. Jake felt like an insect under a magnifying lens. At the front stood a being like a crystalline tree, ancient and gleaming, its limbs reaching toward stars painted on the ceiling. When it spoke, its voice rang like a song. Welcome, humans of Earth, it said. I am Speaker Thyron of the Galactic Council. We must discuss the compact that has preserved peace in this galaxy for 3,000 years. Jake stepped forward. Speaker Thyron, thank you for the welcome, but we're just cargo haulers. I don't understand why we're here, or what this compact is. A hushed ripple moved through the crowd. The tree's glowing limbs dimmed slightly. You truly do not know, Thyron asked. Your kind has upheld galactic law for 3 millennia, and yet you remain unaware. We know humans have traded and traveled for maybe 2 centuries, Jake said. But we're not special, just one species among many. This time, the murmur was louder. Some aliens shifted awkwardly. Thyron's glow brightened again. Captain Morrison, allow me to share a tale. 3,000 years ago, when your species first left its solar system, it encountered the Karvak Empire. Images materialized above them, depicting alien battleships and space combat. Human ships engaged with sleek, powerful vessels. The Karvak had conquered 47 star systems, Thyron continued. They believed in power above all. When they discovered humanity, they struck without warning. One image showed a colony ship's destruction. Jake's chest tightened. Thousands must have died. They expected submission, said Thyron. But your people responded with something the galaxy had never seen. New images showed human warships moving with surgical precision, ambushing Karvak fleets, and vanishing before retaliation. Your species didn't just resist, it struck with intelligence and relentless resolve. Within 2 years, the Karvak Empire was shattered. Jake stared, stunned by what he was seeing. These were his ancestors fighting like legends. But Captain, Thyron said softly, what came next was even more unexpected. The images shifted now, showing human ships arriving on Karvak planets. But instead of conquest, Jake saw rebuilding. Hospitals, schools, farmland. Humans helped. The very species who attacked them, said Thyron. You could have ruled them. Instead, you healed. Jake's jaw dropped. We helped our enemies. Yes, said the speaker, and that choice changed everything. The galaxy saw a race powerful enough to destroy, yet merciful enough to forgive. Commander Zelix stepped forward. The council recognized that humanity was unique, capable of destruction, yet driven to uplift. Thus, Theron resumed. The Terran Compact was born. All member worlds agreed humans would be protected. Harming a human meant facing galactic justice. Jake turned, scanning the massive chamber. You're saying, everyone here protects us. It was logical, Theron replied. A species with that much strength, but even more restraint, deserves protection. More importantly, if humanity ever feels threatened, the galaxy itself could be at risk. Lisa spoke quietly, so when that alien hit Pete, he broke your most sacred law. Correct, Commander Zelix confirmed. A galactic defense fleet is already mobilizing. Dozens of worlds are responding. Jake felt dizzy. What's going to happen to him? He will face tribunal, Thyron said. Exile to the Outer Rim is likely. His merchant clan will be banned from core systems. His government must formally apologize. All that. For a punch, Amy asked softly. Perhaps it seems harsh, Thyron admitted. But the alternative is far worse. If humans ever believe the galaxy is hostile, we know what will follow. So we choose caution. Jake finally grasped the weight of what they were telling him. Humans weren't just one of many species. They were the most safeguarded, the most respected, and the most feared. Speaker Thyron, he asked, what does this mean for us, for all humans? It means, Thyron replied, that your kind bears a responsibility. You are stewards of peace, not through force, but through the knowledge that you could use force if necessary. Jake glanced at his crew. Pete still gingerly touched his bruised face. Lisa and Amy looked dazed and overwhelmed. We're just cargo haulers, Jake muttered. Exactly, Thyron said, and that is why the compact works. While humans go about their daily lives, trading, building, exploring, the galaxy stays peaceful. Because all know what humans can do if provoked. As they exited the chamber, Jake knew his entire worldview had shifted. He was no longer just a ship captain. He was part of something much larger. Whether he wanted it or not, the burden of that truth would follow him wherever he flew among The stars. Jake returned to his cargo routes carrying new awareness of his people's place in the galaxy. Every station stop, every alien handshake felt different now. He noticed the subtle shifts, aliens stepping aside, addressing him with caution, avoiding offense. He hadn't changed, but the galaxy saw him differently. Entire civilizations now feared what humans might do. 3 weeks later, Jake made time to visit his brother Danny on New Montana, the quiet farming colony. It had been 2 years. It had been a long time since Jake had seen his family, and he needed space to process everything that had happened. New Montana was a stunning world, with rolling green hills and vast open landscapes that reminded him of old photographs of Earth's countryside. Danny had established a thriving farm there, cultivating crops that supplied several colonies in the system. When Jake's ship landed at the modest spaceport, Danny greeted him with a wide grin and a strong embrace. "Jake, great to see you, brother," Danny said. "How was the journey?" "Long," Jake replied. "There's a lot I need to talk about." They rode to Danny's farm in an old ground vehicle, driving past tall fields of grain and herds of earth cattle brought to the planet years ago. The colony looked calm and thriving, the kind of place humans built when they found a truly livable world. But over dinner, Jake learned that life on New Montana wasn't as peaceful as it looked. "We've been running into problems with the natives," Danny explained as they sat on the front porch watching the sun go down. "They call themselves the Quillen. They resemble large deer, but they're intelligent and they speak." Jake had heard of the Quillen before, a peaceful herbivorous species that lived in small villages on several nearby worlds. They had never developed spaceflight. "What sort of problems?" Jake asked. Danny sighed. "They claim our farms, are blocking their migration paths. They also say we've built over areas they consider sacred." Colony Administrator Betty Walsh had been trying to negotiate, but it was proving difficult. "In what way?" Jake asked. "Well, some farmers, led by Frank Stone, say the Quillen should just move. Frank insists we legally purchased this land and shouldn't have to change anything for aliens who never officially owned it." Jake frowned. "And what's your opinion?" "I think Frank's going too far," Danny replied. "The Quillen were here first, but I understand why folks don't want to give up land they've worked hard on." The next morning, Danny introduced Jake to Betty Walsh, the colony's administrator. She was a weary-looking woman with gray hair and tired eyes that suggested many sleepless nights. "Captain Morrison," she said, "I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can help make Frank Stone see reason." "What exactly is going on?" Jake asked. Betty pulled out a colony map. "The Quillen have ancient migration paths they follow twice a year. Our farms now block 3 of them. They've asked us to leave corridors open so they can pass through." "That doesn't sound too complicated," Jake noted. "It's not," Betty agreed. "But Frank and about 20 other farmers refuse. They claim giving in now means giving up everything later." Danny looked uneasy. "There's another issue." "Jake, something strange is going on in the Quillen villages." "What kind of strange?" "Equipment malfunctions," Betty said. "Water purifiers breaking down, comm devices failing, food storage units going offline. It all began a month ago, right after the protests started." Jake felt a knot form in his gut. "That's quite a coincidence." "Exactly," Betty said grimly. That afternoon, Jake borrowed one of Danny's vehicles and drove to the closest Quillen settlement. The creatures did look like large deer, but they stood upright and had hands instead of hooves. Their faces were expressive and intelligent, with large, deep eyes that seemed to observe everything. The village elder was an older female named Soft Wind. She spoke fluent English, her voice melodic, like wind rustling through trees. "Human Jake Morrison," she greeted. "We're honored by your presence. Will you have tea with us?" Inside her humble home, they shared a sweet tea brewed from native plants. The lighting was dim, prompting Jake to ask. Our generator is unreliable, Soft Wind said. It fails every few days. We keep repairing it, but it breaks again. When did these problems begin? About 1 month ago. Since then, our water system and communications have also failed. She paused and looked at Jake with her large eyes. We wonder if this is your people's way of making us leave. Jake felt sick. Soft Wind, I can assure you this is not official human policy. Most of us want peace with the Quillen. Most, perhaps, she said gently. But not all, it seems. That evening, Jake visited Frank Stone's farm. Frank was a large red-haired man, with a booming voice and little patience for questioning. I don't know what you're implying, Frank said when asked about the technical failures. If they can't maintain their own systems, that's not our fault. Still, it's strange how all their tech started breaking right after this land issue started, Jake pointed out. Frank's face reddened. Are you accusing me, Morrison? I'm just trying to understand, Jake said evenly. What's happening is we're being too soft, Frank snapped. We legally bought this land. We shouldn't have to beg aliens for permission to live on it. Jake left Frank's place full of doubt but more convinced that something wasn't right. The next morning he asked Danny to help investigate. They flew a small aircraft over Quillen territory at night, using sensors to scan for electromagnetic interference. What they found confirmed Jake's worst fears. Someone was using EMP devices to disrupt Quillen tech, hidden in hills around the villages. The devices were being remotely triggered. This is deliberate, Danny said, staring at the readings. Jake's face darkened. Frank and his crew are trying to drive the Quillen out by making their lives unbearable. But the situation escalated further. One of the damaged water purifiers had tainted the supply, leaving several Quillen children seriously ill. What began as sabotage had turned into something far more dangerous. Jake now faced a hard decision. Reporting Frank would invoke galactic law, which viewed harm to protected species as a severe offense. Frank's group could face exile. But if Jake stayed silent, more innocent Quillen might suffer or die. He recalled Speaker Theron's words about humanity's responsibility and the trust others placed in human justice. The next morning, Jake returned to Soft Wind. I know what's been happening to your systems, he told her. Some humans have been sabotaging them. This isn't right, and it will end. Soft Wind looked at him deeply. Will those responsible be punished? Yes, Jake said. But I also want to fix the real issue. You deserve access to your migration paths, and we humans must find a way to share this planet fairly. Jake spent the next week working with Betty Walsh and his brother Danny. Jake helped design a new plan. They would open corridors through farmland to allow Quillen migration and designate shared zones where both species could benefit from the land without disrupting each other. When Jake presented Frank Stone with clear evidence of the sabotage, Frank initially denied everything, but faced with undeniable proof and the threat of serious consequences, he finally confessed. I was trying to fix a problem, Frank said defensively. You were hurting innocent beings, Jake replied. That's not how humans are meant to act. Frank and his supporters were tried by the colony's justice system, which was far more lenient than galactic law. They were ordered to pay for all damaged Quillen equipment and assist in constructing the new migration paths. Most importantly, Jake made sure the Quillen knew Frank's behavior wasn't a reflection of all humans. The incident became a lesson for the colony, a reminder of the responsibility humans bore as the dominant species on a shared world. As Jake prepared to leave New Montana, Soft Wind came to see him off. Human Jake Morrison, she said, you have shown us the truth of human honor. Your protection matters because your people choose what is right, even when it is difficult. Jake understood that this was the true meaning of the Terran Compact. It wasn't only about others protecting humans, it was about humans living up to the ideals that had earned that protection. Jake was midway through his next cargo run when an emergency transmission came through. The ship's comm system lit up with the highest priority signal he had ever seen. The Galactic Council's symbol filled the screen, followed by a human military code indicating immediate danger. "Captain Morrison," came Speaker Thyron's voice, "please report to Earth Command at once. A situation has arisen that needs your expertise." Jake altered course toward Earth, wondering what possible expertise a mere cargo captain could offer the Council. Lisa piloted at top speed while Pete kept the engine steady. Amy searched news feeds for any hint of what was happening. "Captain," Amy called out after an hour of digging. "There are reports of a new alien species on the galactic rim. They call themselves the hegemony of Scar." "What are they doing?" Jake asked. "Reports say they've been attacking and conquering planets. They're ignoring galactic laws and treaties." Jake felt a chill. In the 3 months since learning about the Terran Compact, he'd gotten used to thinking of the galaxy as mostly peaceful. The idea of a warlike species reminded him of old tales about the Karvak Empire. When they reached Earth, Jake was surprised to be taken straight to top military command. Admirals Roy Jackson and General Lisa Park met him in a secure underground briefing room. "Captain Morrison," said Admiral Jackson, "this goes beyond standard military planning." He activated a large screen showing a galactic rim map. Red marks highlighted systems recently attacked or lost. "The Scar emerged from unmapped space 6 weeks ago," General Park explained. "They've seized 12 systems, enslaved populations, and stripped resources." "What does this have to do with me?" Jake asked. Admiral Jackson clicked a button. The screen displayed a human research station orbiting a far-off planet. 3 days ago, the Scar captured Kepler 442 station. Dr. Helen Carter and her team of 15 xenobiologists are being held hostage. Jake studied the image. The station looked fragile next to the massive Scar warships around it. "They've sent us a message," General Park continued. "They've heard the Galaxy's stories about human military might. They want to see if they're true." "What kind of stories?" Jake asked, though he had a feeling. "The ones behind the Terran Compact," Admiral Jackson said. "Tales of humans who fight with lethal precision when provoked. The Scar are challenging us to prove those stories." The Admiral played a recording. A harsh, broken English voice echoed through the room. "Humans of Earth, we have your people. We hear Galaxy fears you, like war gods. If true, come take your people back. If not, we take your colonies. You have 7 days." Jake's stomach turned. "They're testing us." "Exactly," General Park said. "If we attack with full force, we might rescue the hostages, but the Galaxy might also think we've become conquerors, like the Karvak. But if we don't act decisively," added Admiral Jackson, "the Scar may see us as weak and continue attacking colonies." Jake studied the map. "What do we know about the Scar?" "Not much," General Park admitted. "They use advanced tech, but their ships seem rushed and inefficient. Their communication style suggests they're not native to our galaxy. Some analysts believe they're refugees," she added. "Refugees who are conquering planets." Jake asked. "It's possible," Admiral Jackson said. "Desperate people sometimes do desperate things." The Admiral turned to Jake. "We want you to lead a covert recon mission. Take a stealth ship and learn what the Scar truly want. Your handling of the Quillen conflict showed us you understand these complex issues," added General Park. Jake thought of Speaker Thyron's words about responsibility. "What kind of team will I have?" "You'll be joined by diplomat Carlos Mendez and Special Forces agent Nia Price," General Park replied. "Your goal, gather intel and find a way to rescue the hostages without sparking war." 2 days later, Jake boarded a stealth ship unlike anything he'd ever piloted, compact, but equipped with advanced tech to evade detection. Carlos was calm and sharp. fluent in 12 languages, and had mediated treaties between dozens of alien species. Nia was a warrior, but one who favored strategy over brute force. The journey to Kepler 442 took 5 days. Along the way, they studied intel about the Scar, searching for a peaceful path. Their conquests seem odd, Carlos noted. They're not targeting resource-rich or strategic systems, just grabbing whatever they can, fast. Like they're in a rush, Nia said, nodding. Or maybe fleeing something. At the Kepler 442 system's edge, Jake used the stealth ship's sensors to analyze the Scar fleet. 8 warships circled the research station. But something looked strange. Carlos, take a look, Jake said, pointing. These ships are strong, but their power systems aren't built for sustained action. And look at this, Nia added. Small crafts are constantly shuttling supplies between ships. It's like they're barely holding it together. Maybe they lack the resources to maintain their fleet, Carlos suggested. Jake made an unexpected choice. Instead of sneaking in, he flew the ship straight toward the Scar fleet, broadcasting full identification. Jake, what are you doing? Nia asked. I'm requesting a conversation, Jake replied. If the Scar want to know what humans are, they need to talk to us face to face. The response came fast. The largest Scar vessel sent a message. Human ship, you surrender. We come to speak, Jake answered. If you want truth about humans, meet us directly. There was a long pause. Then, you may dock, but you are now our prisoners too. As their ship was pulled into the Scar vessel's hangar bay, Jake could only hope he'd made the right call. The next few hours would decide whether humanity could resolve this peacefully, or whether the galaxy would, might see humanity respond with the kind of terrifying warfare that gave rise to their fearsome legend. The Scar who greeted them at the airlock stood tall and thin, with pale gray skin and deep black eyes. Its uniform was ragged and stitched, reinforcing the theory that these beings were struggling to keep their fleet functioning. I am War Commander Vex 9, the figure said, in cautious English. You are either incredibly brave, or extremely reckless to come here. Maybe both, Jake answered. We came to learn what you truly need. War Commander Vex 9 looked taken aback by the reply. What we need? We need to discover if humans are truly the warriors the galaxy claims you are. And what would you do with that knowledge? Carlos asked. The War Commander paused before replying, that depends entirely on what we learn. As they were guided deeper into the ship, Jake noted more signs of weakness, makeshift repairs, old equipment, and crew members who looked fatigued and tense. This didn't feel like a confident military power. It felt more like a last-ditch effort by a people with no better options left. Jake suddenly realized that the true challenge wouldn't be defeating the Scar, it would be uncovering what they were really fleeing from, and whether humans could offer a path better than war and conquest. War Commander Vex 9 lead Jake, Carlos, and Nia down metal corridors lined with welds and patchwork repairs. The lighting was dim, and the hum of overtaxed machines filled the air. Your hostages are in the research sector, Vex 9 said. But understand they are not exactly prisoners. What does that mean? Jake asked. You'll see soon, the commander responded. They entered a large chamber lined with scientific instruments. Jake expected cells and heavy guards, but instead, he found humans and Scar collaborating at workstations and lab benches. Dr. Helen Carter looked up from a microscope she was sharing with a Scar researcher. She was a middle-aged woman with tied-back brown hair and keen eyes behind thick glasses. Captain Morrison, she said, recognizing his outfit. What are you doing here? Are you part of the rescue team? In a way, Jake replied, baffled by the sight. Dr. Carter, are you being held against your will? Dr. Carter exchanged a look with the Scar next to her. It's complicated, Captain. Yes, we were taken, but we've since been working on something critical. War Commander Vex 9 gestured at the equipment. Show them what you found, Dr. Carter. Dr. Carter activated a display, revealing images of a lifeless planet. Its surface was a bleak brown-gray wasteland. No animals, no plants, just toxic rivers cutting across dead terrain like dark veins. This was the Scar homeworld, she explained, or what remains of it. The entire environment collapsed 50 years ago. How did that happen? Carlos asked. A new voice answered. We did it to ourselves. An elderly Scar slowly entered, assisted by a mechanical aide. I am Elder Vex 2, once the leader of our people. We entered this galaxy as refugees from the consequences of our own destruction. Elder Vex 2 activated another display, showing scenes of fiery battles and shattered cities. For 2,000 years, we waged endless wars against artificial intelligences we created. We consumed every last resource to fuel our armies. When we finally won, we realized we had devastated our entire world. The few who lived scraped together ships and escaped into this galaxy. War Commander Vex 9 added, but we brought our warlike instincts with us. We know only how to survive by force. Jake nodded slowly. So your attacks were about gathering resources, trying to save what's left of your people. Yes, Elder Vex 2 confirmed solemnly. It's the only method. We understand, but it's failing. We are too few, and our fleet is deteriorating. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Captain, the Scar didn't just capture us. They've been seeking help, trying to reverse the ecological collapse of their world. It might be salvageable, but they need assistance with terraforming and sustainable farming. Why didn't you just ask? Nia asked. War Commander Vex 9 looked uneasy. Because we are warriors, we do not ask, and we feared the other species would never aid raiders who had attacked their colonies. So instead you decided to challenge human strength, Jake said. We heard tales, Elder Vex 2 explained. Stories of humans who could crush any foe, but chose compassion over conquest. We believed if these tales were real, humans might understand our desperation. And if the stories weren't true, Carlos asked, would have continued seizing what we needed until someone stopped us, Vex 9 confessed. Jake now grasped the full picture. The Scar hadn't merely taken scientists hostage. They had orchestrated a crisis designed to provoke a reaction and uncover the truth about humanity's nature. You were testing whether we'd respond with aggression or choose another path, Jake said. Yes, Elder Vex 2 affirmed. And you have astonished us. Rather than sending fleets, you sent a diplomat, a scientist, and a modest team. Instead of issuing threats, you asked what we required. Dr. Carter brought up another display, revealing a restoration blueprint. Captain, I've collaborated with their scientists for 3 days. Their planet isn't lost, can recover. It'll require years of dedication, but combining our terraforming skills with SCAR's production tech could revive it. What about the worlds you've assaulted? Nia asked. War Commander Vex 9 looked down, clearly remorseful. We took what wasn't ours and enslaved innocent lives. We can't undo our crimes. But you can make amends, Carlos suggested. The Scar could return what they took and help rebuild what they damaged. Jake considered all he had witnessed since the incident at the trading post. The Galaxy's laws to protect humans, born from fear of their might, had matured into something nobler, a framework for justice and shared responsibility. Elder Vex 2, Jake said, would your people be willing to submit to judgment by the Galactic Council? The old Scar was quiet for a long stretch. When we began this journey, we expected execution or exile. Justice is preferable. Then I propose this, Jake continued. Dr. Carter, how long would recovery of their planet take with full support? With the right resources and global cooperation, maybe 20 years, she replied. Commander, how many Scar remains? 50,000 aboard our vessels, Another 100,000 living in temporary camps across occupied worlds. Vex 9 answered. Jake turned to Carlos. Can the council manage refugee resettlement for 150,000? Carlos considered the numbers. If they agree to work and repair the damage they've caused, the galaxy has resettled other species before. Then here's my offer, Jake said. The Scar submit to council justice for past actions. In return, the council assists in forming refugee zones where your people can contribute to restoring your world. Human experts collaborate with Scar engineers to develop restoration tools and the systems we attacked. Elder Vex 2 asked. Scar technology helps undo the harm, Carlos proposed. Your people work hand in hand with those you wronged, rebuilding what was lost. War Commander Vex 9 looked unconvinced. Why would anyone trust us again? Because humans will vouch for your intentions, Jake said. Just like the Terran Compact protects us, we'll draft a new Pact 1 that protects everyone involved. 3 weeks later, Jake stood once again in the Galactic Council's vast chamber on Terminus. But this time, he wasn't just a stunned cargo captain learning of his species status. He stood as an envoy, helping shape a new legal order. Speaker. Thyron's crystal limbs shimmered as he spoke. The Council acknowledges Captain Morrison's proposal to expand our founding law. The galaxy's guiding principle shall grow from do not harm humans to do not forsake those in need. The vote wasn't unanimous, but the majority of species supported the change. The Scar would be judged for their offenses, but also aided in forging a future. 6 months later, Jake delivered supplies to the very first cooperative settlement, where Scar refugees worked alongside human terraformers and volunteers from dozens of alien races. The Vorthic merchant, who struck Pete, was also there redeeming himself through manual labor and community building. Dr. Carter had founded a permanent research hub where Scar and human scientists collaborated on breakthrough ecological tech. Their solutions were already in use on other devastated planets. From atop a hill near the site, Jake watched Scar learning to farm under human instruction, while engineers from across species erected purification plants. Pete and Amy were there, Pete fixing machines, Amy working with doctors to develop advanced medical techniques. War Commander Vex 9, now reintroduced as Vex the Builder, joined Jake on the rise. Captain Morrison, he said, our people have an old belief. True strength is taking what you need. True wisdom is knowing what you truly need. Your kind has shown us the difference. Jake smiled. My kind is still figuring that out. As he gazed over the busy settlement, Jake understood the galaxy had changed, expanded, complicated, but also grown more optimistic. The rule that once shielded humanity through fear had transformed into something greater, an ethic of mutual care. The galaxy's golden rule no longer focused on what you must not do to humans, but on what all beings must do for one another when aid is needed. Jake eventually resumed his cargo routes, but now his ship hauled more than goods. He carried aid, peace missions, and hope to colonies across the stars. The burden he once bore as a symbol of power was now shared by a united galaxy, building a better future together. True strength, he had learned, wasn't the ability to destroy but the wisdom to help others build something better.